part of LFA 2023, we unveiled a series of new installations in 3 showrooms across London, a part of Showroom Showcase, a design competition in collaboration with some of London's leading showrooms, Gaggenau, Ideal Standard and VitrA Bathroom. Now in its 3rd edition, this series of installations sees waste materials connected to each of the brands transformed into innovative installations by emerging architects, artists and designers. We caught up with each of the winning designers to find out the stories behind the designs. Here, Raphaé, Sikander and Simon tell us about their collaboration.
My name is Raphaé Memon. I'm an architect and stage designer.
My name's Sikander Pervez. I am a visual artist.
And our installation is called Time. Our installation focuses on some key themes we discussed with Gaggenau, which are perfection, craftsmanship and sustainability. We were inspired by the timeless nature of their appliances when we visited the showroom. We noticed their history and heritage from the Black Forest in Germany and the significance of the cuckoo clock as a key motif. This is something we thought was quite an interesting concept to think about. Time is something we all have in common, and it's something that we often have a complex relationship to, our own internal clock, but also our shared existence on this planet.
I'm Simon Plumbridge. I'm category manager for Gaggenau, and here we are in Gaggenau London, working really closely with the guys on the time structure, which I think works perfectly, the craftsmanship, which is synonymous with Gaggenau, and the level of detail, which is something that we've been really known to focus on through our years of manufacturing.
The brief for Waste Not, Want Not was great for us because the brand itself doesn't actually produce that much waste in how precisely they make their objects. So we took it upon ourselves to kind of go deeper into that and think of ways where we can present that actual subject of sustainability as well as other themes.
Time is a series of plaster cast clocks that are sitting in a vertically stacked orientation. They resemble almost a cityscape of different heights, and they have different depths, which mean that they give you glimpses inside the showroom. This kind of cast object is a clock, which is displayed in an abstract conceptual form. It references the kind of architecture of the city. It references a key building material that architects use. The process behind making the clocks is mixing the plaster, pouring it into a mold, taking it out and then installing the clock mechanism. We also then made some holes in it to mount it onto a structural frame, and each clock then is hand numbered and stamped at the back, which correlates to them being limited edition art objects.
The material of plaster, especially white plaster, was very important to us because it does correlate to the facade of Gaggenau showroom in London. But also it's a material you find everywhere, not only around this city, but globally around many, many buildings you see. So it's very common, it's very readable, it's very digestible as well.
There's something about plaster being very domestic as well, because it's something that we see in all our homes with our plastered walls, but also something that is used in a fine nature. And a clock is a very domestic object. And we thought that domestic setting was also quite interesting when looking at the material of plaster and the object of a clock. The collaboration between myself and Sikander is interesting because my background as a stage designer and architect meets with his background in visual art. So what we wanted to do is, within our practice, look at the viewer and audience relationships, how the viewers will view this installation from outside, but when they come inside the showroom, they see the behind the scenes workings, they see the back of the clocks, they see the steel structure that is holding it together. So very much similar to Gaggenau appliances, there's a lot of hard work going on behind the seamless front or the facade.
For us, it was quite important to have the installation stacked in a certain way so it gives you glimpses within the showroom, because then the viewer can consider their own movements around the installation itself, as well as place themselves within the showroom.
Each clock, when viewed from inside, corresponds to a particular world time zone that at the first instance relates to the spread of the Gaggenau showrooms, but also unites us in talking about global time and how we have all these different time zones, but time is something that we share.
We made sure we incorporated the time zones from the people that actually work at Gaggenau too, so it makes it a lot more personal as well as a shared experience amongst all of us.
I think what works really well with the installation is sustainability. It's a really serious subject, and it's one that is very difficult for a brand like Gaggenau to engage with as much as we'd want to, because we're talking about products that have a long shelf life. And what I mean is that part of our sustainability message is you won't need to replace the product for 10, 15, 20 plus years, which is a real positive because it's less products going to landfill, etc. But it means that there are certain elements of energy saving technology that may not be able to be introduced into our product because we're not making technological changes as other brands are. So we have to focus on other areas where we can make positive impacts, is on the materials we use during production, how we produce, right down to any of the scraps of stainless steel from our cutting machines are taken to other parts of our factory and used in other processes. It's a matter of looking at what the status quo is and seeing where we can challenge that without compromising the detail on the manufacturing and the production. I think one of the key things here is we look at global time zones, and Gaggenau is a global brand. So the message that we speak about and the story that we tell doesn't change whether you're in New York, London, Paris, or Shanghai. And if there's one consistency to everything that we share, that's time.
The idea of the installation is that after the period is over of the install, they will be donated to people who can take them home. So the idea is that the clocks have a life after the installation. And we thought it was really important to have that and not design an installation that just goes to waste after it's finished.
It really has been a great collaboration between us and Gaggenau because we were heavily inspired by their sustainability, their perfection, their craftsmanship. We really considered what was important to the brand, but also what was important in terms of the global conversation.
The mixing of the plaster with the water is something we have controlled to ensure that there is little waste produced in this process. So very similar to zero waste cooking, where we make sure that the excess byproduct that is produced is either minimal, or if it's produced, we reuse it as aggregate to reform some of the clocks. The clock is a very simple object, but the clock is very important in telling time. It makes us think about how we use time, and we can also then think about time as a crafted element and something that is designed to last.
That handcrafted element is really important for us, and it's one thing that I always like talking about. The general question I get asked is, so how many of your products are still handmade? And my answer to that is always the same, which surprises people, is that I flip that round. If I was to tell you that there is only one production method in our factory, this is fully automated. Everything else has hand construction element involved in it, because I agree machines can do things quicker, but they cannot do them better. The biggest surprise when you come to the Gaggenau factory in Lipsheim is the number of people that are there. It was fantastic working with the guys because it's about having those shared values. The fact that attention to detail, craftsmanship, sustainability, everything that we do has a purpose. It's not about doing it for the sake of doing it. It's about doing it because what we do actually makes a difference. And that's why when you meet like-minded people, it's almost not work. It's just what you do. It's just such an easy thing to get involved with, to engage, and then it has a life of its own.
This is the collaboration of multiple creative disciplines to create something. So it's architecture, it's interior design, it's art installation. And Sikander and I felt this would be a great starting project to combine these different skills together to create a piece of artwork that would hopefully speak to the public and also encourage the public to have more conversation. And we do encourage the public to come and think about time from their own perspective.
If you've enjoyed this conversation and you'd like to listen to more like this, search for Building Sounds on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your favourite podcasts.